we on? Okay, it's 5 o'clock, so we're going to call the meeting to order. And the first item up is approval of the agenda. And if you have F5, everything should be current, correct?
You should see 5.2 ought to be the Washington High School cooling tower proposal.
Then you have the latest version. So what's your pleasure?
So move. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. All in favor, say aye. Okay, we have the agenda, and that will carry us. Let me back up my board minutes, and they've been listed here, so hopefully you've had a chance to look over those.
So move, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Okay, got a motion and a second to approve the minutes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those are approved. And goes to our no action, and is, Don, I think you're up on revision to some technology
Yeah,
policies.
4.1 of the revision to our technology policies, and Andre and I have worked with Michelle Oros and Mark Malick and several others have gone through the policies, and when we do that, we literally go through line by line to make sure that what's being recommended is in line with what we're doing, or if there's a new legislative mandate that we're following with what we need to be doing. The only one that I still have out that I need some feedback on is policy 7335. And it's a policy that gets into social media use, and part of that deals with an opt-in or an opt-out for parents, and I've got Kim Edwards working on language for that so that it's consistent with our code of conduct, but this is the first reading. You have an opportunity to go in and see what markups we made, which may be above and beyond what we got from the folks from the School Board Association, so we just wanted those to sit on the table, give you an opportunity to take a look at it, and then I'll go through it in more detail policy by policy when we're ready for the approval.
Did they give you any type of recommendation on this, on that?
Everything that you see that's a write-up is a recommendation. The things that
Okay,
are marked through are things that add more steps to cover what we've got, yeah.
Okay.
But everything is based on the recommendations that they've sent to us.
Oh, okay.
And everything's noted either in red or
It
marked
is.
through.
It is.
So it's pretty easy to follow. Okay. How about an update on class size? Mark, you or Don? Who's going to handle that?
I just want to give you an update on a couple of things. As the last year's budget bill was written, in the past, class size for K3 specifically, K3 are the only remaining grades that have a dictated limit from the state. There are certainly lots of good arguments to keep class sizes low in K12 if you can manage to do it, but in terms of our state allotments, once you get past K3, honestly, there isn't a class size limit. The last year's budget bill changed our K3, which has traditionally been, we've been allotted one teacher for every 21 students. So when we would look at our roster, we would calculate how many kindergarten students across the county, divide that number by 21, that's how many kindergarten classes we need. Same with first, same with second, same with third grade. And then if schools received any kind of federal funding and they wanted to even further reduce those class sizes, they could do that, but that was just their state allotments. Those are state positions. Their last year's budget bill contained a change to the state allotments, and the new numbers would be in kindergarten, instead of 1 to 21, it would be 1 to 18. And in first grade, instead of being 1 to 21, it would be 1 to 16. And in second and third grade, instead of being 1 to 21, it would be 1 to 17. What that would create for us is the addition of 27 state positions that we had previously used in other places would now have to be dedicated to K3. So you've got two issues. You've got 27 state positions that we no longer can use for grades 4 through 12 in any area. You've also got a space issue because some of the schools, what that means, some of them are already using federal money to add positions. So, but you're talking anywhere between 2 and 5 extra classrooms that don't exist yet being added at certain schools. But you're talking 27 teaching positions, you're talking $1.3 million that we're looking to recover in some way, or try and cut 27 teaching positions. Not to mention finding 27 additional K3 teachers on top of whatever vacancies we might have. So what we're hoping for relief from is House Bill 13. House Bill 13 has been filed, passed by the House. It's sitting in the Senate Rules Committee right now. House Bill 13 adds 3 to our numbers. So instead of kindergarten being 1 to 18, it would be 1 to 21. First grade, instead of 1 to 16, would be 1 to 19. Second and third, 1 to 17 would be 1 to 20, which is a lot closer to what we're used to. So we're very hopeful that the Senate will take up House Bill 13, and we're hopeful they'll do it quickly.
ask a question.
And when you mention 1.3, you're speaking of salary or cost of the teacher, the 27 positions.
Yes, sir.
Not outfitting.
That's right, that's not classrooms, that's not adding classrooms,
Exactly.
furniture, that's
Exactly.
not,
Which is significant.
yes, sir, that's just,
Well, significant considering we don't have 27
that's
classrooms.
right. And in some schools, honestly, it does range from 1 or 2 more, because like I said, some schools already have more K-3 classrooms than state allots, but other schools, you're talking maybe 4 or 5 rooms that don't exist right now. So, I mean, space-wise, in some places, they may have 1 or 2 rooms. In other places, they don't have an extra room or 2, much less 4. So that is a huge, assuming we can find the folks and pay for them.
That's an issue too.
It is a really big deal for us.
Because we wouldn't be the only people looking teachers.
No, sir, there will be a huge expansion around the state in the number of K-3 teachers needed if this stays the same.
Mark, can you talk, I've mentioned to the board in the past, we had settled on a number of 8, and the number's 27, which is significantly different, and I think options that we're looking at in terms of some federal funding and things like that, we want to come back to you on the 24th, but can you help them understand why we went from 8 to 27?
Sure. When you're looking at, our schools receive Title I and Title II funding, and one of the things that some of our folks do is Title II specifically is to reduce class sizes in K-3. So if you're a principal and you have X number of students and you get X number of teachers from the state, you can say, well, I really like to break my kindergarten, for example, up even further, so I'm going to get this Title II federal position, and I'm going to use that money, and so instead of the state gives us 5 kindergarten, but I'm going to have 6. And so 5 are paid for the state, 1 paid by federal. Well, if the budget bill passes as is, you'll get 6. So you'll have that Title II position, you won't necessarily need it anymore for class size reduction, or Title I. So it's possible, but Greg Singleton and I are doing a little research, it's possible that we have about 12 federal positions that are specifically used to reduce class sizes in K-3. So it's possible that we might use those 12 to fund other positions at the school. You couldn't move them, can't give them to another school, but you could fund something else at the school. It's possible, an upper grade or art, music, or something of that nature. If that's the case, then that would reduce our number from 27, minus 12, you're down to 15 positions. There is some belief that we may receive some increases in some other funding pots, either low wealth, disadvantaged student, at-risk student, which might offset some of that 15 to get us back to the 8 that we had originally in the budget. So, but all that is very hypothetical. I mean, it could change. We don't know our federal funding either. We're going off just this number. It could certainly change and go down, which would reduce the number of federal positions too.
Still got to find somewhere to put them.
Yeah, that doesn't change that fact at all.
Right, that doesn't change that at all.
And you still got to pay for desks and materials and
That's right.
all of that, exactly.
Well, realistically, the desk would be there, wouldn't they?
Some, but not all.
They may not be at that school, we may have to move them from one place to another, but realistically, we would still have desks for the same amount of students. They're just not going to all be in one classroom.
Well,
It's possible. I mean, we have to see, but some of the classrooms are being used for other, for for art, for example, may have tables, or your music classroom may not have desks, it may have something else in it.
Right, the configuration may
right,
change.
that's going to change because
Right.
this is not the same desk all across the county.
That's right.
And stuff like that.
So, and in theory, you might be able to move some out of some rooms to, if you lower the number there, you could move some out, but I don't know
By
if it
gaining
works out.
students, we would be gaining teachers and looking for classrooms.
That's right.
And we don't need 2 classrooms going on in 2 classes in one classroom.
No, I don't think that
Which
would
I
be
know
very
has
helpful.
been mentioned by some people above us,
That's correct.
which
As a
is
possible
not
solution.
a smart idea.
That kind of defeats the whole small class size. when you have
Exactly.
36 and 2 teachers in one room.
Exactly.
Dr. Phipps, what are you hearing from the legislative standpoint? Anything? Is there any rumbling that the House is going to, the Senate is going to, everything I'm hearing is that they're not taking it up prior to the break?
What we've told us, there's no movement. I'm going to ask in just a few minutes for you all to allow us to send a letter following up on the updated numbers to Senator Cook, but there's not been any movement that we've been made aware of. And we've been told the plan is if there's not going to be a change. So we have to do that.
And When I was told, not that you may not know this, but I was told they would go on break on Tuesday, Easter break on Tuesday. I wonder if they were talking about today Tuesday or next Tuesday?
I'm not sure.
Because they were saying if they didn't go, if they didn't
different
handle it before break, that it would put it so late that it might not help us in any planning that we do
I think
anyway.
it's this Tuesday, Terry.
You think
Like
it's today?
like today.
Yeah.
Then we already up the creek.
The only thing I've heard, which is complete rumor, is that the Senate might put it in the budget, because they have to create a new budget, even, or they will create a new budget, they don't have to, but they will. But by the time that comes out, that's
Right.
usually, if we're lucky, July 1st.
That's what I'm saying, and to help
Yeah.
us, that'll be late.
Yes, sir.
Well, since I'm not a senator, I guess that's all I need to say about that. Anybody have any other questions about it?
I have a lot of questions, but they're not answers yet.
Well, you can see him squirm while he's trying to get some for you. Okay, let's look at an enrollment forecast.
What I try to do around this time of year is to tumble numbers forward so that our current students would be in the next grade level, which may be at the same school, or they may be going to a different school, which would impact the enrollment numbers for next year. And when I do that, we don't ever know for sure how many kindergartners we're going to have until the school year gets started. So the best guess that I've got, rather than taking 1 year, is I try to take the last 2 years of kindergarten enrollment and come up with the average, and that's what we put in place. And we do that for a couple of reasons. We still allow some inter-county transfers for our schools, but we've also closed some schools for inter-county transfer. And the ones that I want to, and my total number, and we've got to go back and take a look at this, is actually a little bit higher than what DPI has us projected to be next year, but I'm looking at somewhere around 6,950, and DPI has us in the 6,800 range, so we'll have to monitor that and see what our numbers look like, and those don't count our pre-K students. But the schools that I would have recommended for closure for transfer, and I don't want the public to misinterpret that we're closing schools. This is just that we don't open these schools for inter-county transfer. And if you're there already, we have a grandfather clause, and that includes the feeder schools. But right now, that would be Eastern Elementary, John Cotton Taylor, P.S. Jones, and Washington. Eastern, Taylor, P.S. Jones, and Washington. They're all high right now. In fact, 3 of those are above 100% of Jimmy Heights calculated capacity. And then we have 3 that we're monitoring that are close to being in the 90% range. One's just a little over. That will be Bath Elementary, Chocowinity Middle, and Chocowinity Primary, the same ones we normally have. So what we'll do is, we've already had calls this year of folks that are interested in making transfers into those schools. We'll just ask them to give us a little bit of time to get a better handle on what the kindergarten number is going to look like. And it could be that 3 or 4 folks are allowed to have transfers, and at that point, the number will hit the number that we cut off, and we'll come back to you and say we'd like to add these particular schools to the cutoff list. So just running through that again: Eastern, Taylor, Eastern, Taylor, P.S. Jones, and Washington are currently closed for transfers. And then Bath, Chocowinity, and Chocowinity Middle and Primary are being monitored. They're very close right now.
Okay. Not talking about, well, first of all, anybody have any questions for Don? Okay. Not talking about which schools are closed or whatever. When will we have a number on the enrollment for NERSBA and early college high school?
They sent letters out, I think, from early college either last week or this week, and NERSBA should have done the same. I should have those numbers by the next time we meet.
Okay. Once they have those numbers in hand, or we have them in hand, do we get a chance to review that number?
We can see it. I'm not sure what we can
Because-
do with it.
Well,
But I can show you, if you want to know where they're from and the total numbers across the county too, I'll pull them
no,
out for you.
I'm only interested in the ones that we're sending to early
Right,
college.
but I mean
and
by
only
our
one-
schools, I'll get that
Right,
for you.
yeah, which schools? Because if they come in higher than they were last year, what are we going to do about that?
Well, I know early college won't, because we've capped that enrollment's there.
Say, I thought we
You know.
capped
But we
that.
didn't do anything
And we've
with
had some
NERSBA.
conversations at NERSBA with the expectation that we're not going to carry the percentage of enrollment there
Okay.
that we have in the past, but we'll see what that number looks like.
Okay, just so it doesn't get set in stone
Right.
before it comes to us to take a
Don,
look
when you
at.
bring that back, will you be able to give me an account or an estimate of how many students we have that's left us this year from the schools?
That I can do a withdrawal. I'm not sure that, let me see what I can pull together for you.
Okay.
Because we can do withdrawals. We don't always know where they're going, because some may go to private school, some may move out of state, some may enroll in a charter, but I can tell you what
I
we've
just want
had.
to know, my interest is knowing if they left, that they have left.
Okay.
It's okay where they went.
Okay, I will.
Okay.
And
go ahead.
and when we talk about the cap, at early college and establishing some sort of cap for NERSPA, that does not mean anybody currently enrolled is in danger of not getting to go back. They're certainly, a student there and they'll remain, but we're talking about new students. We're not going to let the enrollment just keep climbing and climbing.
Exactly.
From our schools.
Okay. Any other questions about that? Okay, if not, let's move into our action, and the first item up is capital update. Stan, that's you. And I think there was one laying on, was there some laying out already?
Yes, sir.
I have one.
And there's a copy attached, too, is that same?
Yeah, there's also, it's attached.
Yeah, it's in here.
Printed copy, same thing.
Sometimes it's easier to read here.
Yes, that's correct. Yes, ma'am.
Right here.
Let me just get it out. I already printed the copy.
So we should
Got the
use
other
this
one.
instead of the attachment?
Either one, it's the same thing.
It is
Yes,
the
ma'am,
same.
it's the exact same thing. Yes,
I didn't know
ma'am.
if one was more updated.
Yeah, Mr. Terry said he preferred the paper copy, so I've been running
I
papers
brought
too,
my
so,
own, but
okay.
I appreciate you
so-
printing one.
Okay.
Sometimes it's just easier to follow.
Yep.
Right.
Only 3 items that have been completed since our last meeting. That was, they're all 3 security related. One was Snowden, CPS, and Washington High School. So all in the first 2 pages.
Don't say only 3, I think 3 is good progress, because we're making.
Well, that's it, we're making progress every time. We're having more meetings, so it's only been a week since our last meeting, so since then, we've completed 3. So,
And what is still open?
On
want
security.
to talk about it?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, on security, I show you got CPS and Ed Tech, and their schedule will be completed 4/18/4/28.
Correct.
So that leaves, the only thing that you're waiting on, designs, et cetera, is Southside, CMS, John Cotton Taylor, Northside.
Southside.
He said-
Southside's door.
Southside, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, Southside, CMS, John Cotton Taylor, and Northside.
Correct.
So they'd all be done by that.
Yes, sir.
Before I forget it, just before our meeting on 5/3, Don, that we
5/3.
meet with the commissioners, can we get pictures of the ones that's got these storefronts? Because I'm sure they'd love to see.
Most certainly.
You know what I'm talking about? Just the ones that, I guess it doesn't matter, all the other ones, I won't even go through them.
We'll get them all, quite a few of them are different, they look
That's
different,
right.
so we'll.
Okay.
Yes, sir. And then everything else in the capital was the same as, I did add all the projects, because Mr. Terry said he'd like to know sometime whether the project's completed. So since last time, I went back and put all the old projects back attached to this, so that every project that we did for this physical year is attached.
And I appreciate that, and I caught it. Third page I've got, 1,
Right.
2, 3, 4. I got 6 question marks, and then I realized what they were.
Correct.
Because it was different than the last
You mentioned
report
that you'd like
gave
to
us.
have it all, so I
Well,
looked
yeah, I
down
mean,
at it,
now,
so.
we were following a 15-16 and a 16-17, which now 15-16's closed out. So this makes it handy.
Yes, sir. Any
Everything's
questions?
right here. If there's a project been done or out there, it's here.
We got a lot going on Easter week there. That will wipe out everything, I think, besides the asphalt.
Yeah.
That's going to pretty well finish out everything.
The only line I was going to ask about, and I've got the answer, I
Yes,
think,
sir.
already, but down on technology where it says 400,000, which I know is the amount we dropped over there for that. On the last report, we had already spent through that, and it showed like 26,554 left.
Yeah, I
Is
didn't have that
still-
number available.
But I mean,
for me
that's
yet.
the
It
number,
needs to
that
Yeah.
400, if everybody, I just was going to.
Yeah, that number is
If that
not an
400's out
accurate
there,
number, yeah.
doesn't mean we still have 400 there. It's
Right.
not, it's not there.
be- No,
Okay. Is that right?
Yeah, it's the same.
absolutely.
Is the same true, Russ, for the 300,000 for cameras and camera systems?
It's going down, yeah, that number.
So we just need that.
We need to update that.
Yes,
Those two
those,
numbers.
that was the other one, was the
'Cause
300,000.
right now, it's not showing anything at all.
Right.
Haven't been.
But we
I
know
we
that's
have.
not accurate, so, yeah.
Okay.
I just don't want somebody to look at those two lines and think we're sitting on $700,000, because
Yes,
we know better.
It is liquidated.
Yes, we do.
Okay, any questions?
Dan,
Yes,
that,
ma'am.
at Ed Tech, the fence that's been installed already?
Yes, ma'am, working
Okay,
great.
I was wondering if that was the fence that I
It's
saw. when I
working
was-
great. There's no complaints. They had a little
Okay.
withdrawals to start with over a change of policy and procedure, but they've
Uh-huh.
done it and it's worked great.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
good, looks good.
The only-
Have the cafeteria
Any other
door.
questions for Stan?
Is the
I mean-
cafeteria door still not in at Ed Tech?
Now we're waiting for the Easter break.
Oh, okay. Oh,
They got to pour cement.
oh,
And we
okay.
got to take the door out and put a door back in.
And you have
so
to
it's
wait
gonna
when
be
there's no
down for a
kids
while.
there.
Yes, ma'am.
I got you.
We're going to do it that week.
But by the commissioners meeting, there'll be several more of these
Oh, yes.
closed out. So
We'll be down.
we're okay. I think we're okay, but everybody else is free to say what they want. Since Russ is sitting in here, I would just mention one thing. The fence that you put up the ones like goes at CPS, the ones going over at CMS.
Yes, sir.
I'm assuming at some point in time, you're going to talk to them about how to go about locking them,
Yes, sir.
because they're all up, but they have no locks on, so it doesn't help
Well,
any.
we went through Ed Tech, went through
Yeah.
their fail, so now we work through
Okay.
CPS and to see.
'Cause I know
when they
that's-
get
that's-
started. CMS is probably 2 weeks out of material, so.
And that's really a bigger issue than a lot of people might think, because if you just go lock it up and you got the staff locked away from their, staff parking lot, because the one at CPS would do that, then you have to use a lock where everybody in the building can get the same kind of key and access to it. It's not as easy as just going and putting a master lock on it and say, we're done.
correct.
So I understand that.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. So that brings you up, Russ. You're next on the cooling project, cooling tower proposal.
All right. If everyone's not aware, this has been a topic for quite a while now. And we kind of went ahead and took it by the horns and we're trying to move forward with this. I'm bringing this before you. You should have 2 attachments.
You have to hit F5, they should be under your administrative content there.
The first one is a proposal from the company that's listed across the top. It is through U.S. Communities. It's a buying consortium. If you go to the website, it's a government purchasing allowance. It's been used through other counties throughout North Carolina. It's a pre-negotiated, heavily weighed, rigorous process that they go through, and they award contracts to Train as the HVAC. So Brady Train has the contract for the state of North Carolina. There's been other maintenance directors use them. They're very happy. Train's a very reliable product. If you look down through the scope of work, you can tell that the process of installing these cooling towers is very, very detailed. And the concerns have surfaced that with the RFP, there could be things that could be missed because it's such a detailed oriented thing. Brady Train's engineers come out and been a part of it with another gentleman and actually have put this together. You can thumb through it. At the end, you'll see a base price. That base price is everything that we have asked for: demolition, crane rigging, electrical, pipe and insulation, the new cooling towers that we spec'd out, variable frequency drives. But there is also an alternate 1 and an alternate 2. And an alternate 2 is extreme efficiency cooling tower. It is my recommendation, along with our energy manager's recommendation, that once we see this base price there, that we actually add to it and go with alternate number 2. The second attachment is alternate number 2, as far as the energy savings behind it of going with this other product. If we go with the high efficiency, based on our rates and discussions with our energy manager, and there's a possible of a $203,000 savings over 20 years. The initial payback of that difference of what the add is on alternate 2 is a payback of 2 years. I would think that we would be doing justice if we went ahead and spent that extra money with the payback of what it would bring us.
And Russ, I think in addition to that, and I'm certainly not a mechanical engineer, but the unit that we spent a lot of money on last year that we put in is going to operate more like it should with the proper equipment attached to it,
Yes,
which
sir.
should help us out in terms of longevity for that too.
Yes, sir. And also, there's benefits to it. The sound reduction is up to 50%. That's been a big thing about the chillers being loud, affecting students learning. Going with a high, efficiency is also going to reduce the sound up to 50%. But all that information is there. But something, even though this is not a formal RFP and it's through U.S. Communities, I want to stress the fact that there's an 8 to 10 week lead time. U.S. Communities is there for quick helping schools, local governments really come together on these big projects so that the schools really get what they need. If you go through another formal RFP, we're looking at another month, pushing that 8 to 10 week lead time. Fiscal year budget changes. School comes back in session. That means we wouldn't be able to get it complete over the summer. Going this route, we wouldn't be able to. So that's just something to think about. I wanted to bring that to you, and we've worked hard on it, and through discussions, especially this morning, that we feel like that's a very, very competitive price through quotes that we've had over a year and a half ago. I wouldn't be bringing it before you if I didn't think I wanted to put my name behind it.
And Pete looked at it too.
Yes, sir.
And plus, this is more towards almost like a state contract
Yes, sir.
price, right? Okay. So we're looking at the 279 figure, and then, go ahead.
Plus 19.
Plus 19, so
Plus
300,000.
Right.
We'll come out with about 298,845.
Correct.
Still leave you a little bit over 100.
Yeah, the sheet that I passed around to you, second, Don, you don't explain, but if you'll turn to, I will tell them, turn to the second page. That shows you
And really, Mac,
balance.
you may want to speak up. This is on the
Versus
capital fund,
403.
but it shows you what we've got in terms of money that's encumbered, expenditures. And then when you get on page 2 of 3, you can see what we've got saved from projects. And this is also the carryover through the year, so this really is the expendable money that we've always referred to as our capital fund balance, is what you see there.
And some of it we've been carrying over for this
We
project.
have. We've been holding on for a
Over and
little
over,
while for this.
holding on to it. So we're sitting at 403, and we're looking at just under 300 for the project.
And keep in mind that we had a couple projects that we put on hold for the Eastern Elementary. So there are a lot of things the last few years that have contributed to that dollar amount.
Right, but in other words, the money's sitting here that we,
And I will
we need
stress
to
to
do
the
for
board
this
that last year, we spent time after day after day after day babysitting these brand-new chillers because the incoming water temperature was
Yeah.
not low enough. And I hate that we go through another year, with possible damage to these new chillers we just had put together, so.
What kind of warranty is on this? I didn't read all through it. I didn't have this attachment this morning when I was looking at stuff, so I hadn't had a chance to look at it, but
I would have to further discuss that with,
I'd want to make sure
Without taking
there's
too much time here
a
reading it.
decent warranty and not just 1 year. I know there's some things on parts and labor that are not controllable, but
and that's also would probably change with, if we move forward with the other alternative, base price there. We're going with the high efficiency because in that separate attachment that I sent you, it actually mentions that that extends the life of the mechanical drive components, and I'm sure there will probably be some warranty changes with
Right.
the high efficiency versus the base. But I would definitely make that my priority tomorrow morning to check.
yeah, just to find out what it is. It seems like they always have it figured out that something has a warranty of X amount of years, and when you've had it X amount of years plus 1 day,
That's when you
it
have-
goes bad. But let's try to get the best warranty we can out of it.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't see how we cannot do this after we've spent the money there for the chillers. And if you've been in there at any one time, it seems like it's 68 degrees in one classroom and 98 in another. And this is going to alleviate a lot of that. And some of that is a lot better already with what we've done, but this is going to put that under a better control, right?
Yes, and I mean, as far as the energy management standpoint, I mean, we would do nothing but helping our new chillers perform at maximum
Right,
efficiency.
right. Okay.
Can we, if we, assuming we get
Yes.
a motion,
Right.
what I'd like to ask is that it be contingent on Willie Mack
Yes.
just making sure that we can go through the consortium without doing the formal RFP. And really, the whole point of having the consortium is like state contract. But if it turns out we have to do it, we want to do it the right way, obviously. We'd come back to you, but the motion will be contingent on him nailing that down, hopefully by
So that
tomorrow.
we don't delay it for 2 or 3
Right.
more weeks.
Right.
And you check on the warranty and let us know what that's.
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm sure it's acceptable, but just let us know so everybody will feel comfortable with it.
And it may be in this proposal, and I've just overlooked it.
That's what I said. I didn't have time to
We,
look over this because I didn't see it earlier.
Yeah, we've got too much money in that chiller out there already to not do this, so.
That's the warranty, but it doesn't mention the calendar days.
Okay. So what's the board's pleasure on this?
I make the motion, we go with this at the high efficiency, which is the alternate 2.
Right.
That's fine.
As given to us today, but contingent upon what Willie Mack finds out, that we can nail down something concrete on our available funds. And the sooner the better, obviously. So whatever we have to do to move this forward,
Okay.
we need to do.
It is an exceptional option for us to go through the consortium, that's the contingency.
Without the RFP.
Right, yeah, right. Okay, so I got a motion and a second. Any other last-minute questions, second questions? If not, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Okay, just keep us up on what's going on with that, and that'll help us move that project a little quicker than what we were, so.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Russ. So, Don wants to mention to you something about a letter.
This is a letter that piggybacks on what Mark mentioned earlier about the class size reduction. We did a resolution, I think, on the 7th of February that we sent to the General Assembly. And I think because we've updated our numbers and our numbers gone from 8 to 27, I'd like to let Senator Cook know with his constituent group in Beaufort County what the impact is, because I'd hate for him to be in Raleigh and still think that our number's 8, which is a little bit more manageable. I'd like him to know it's truly 27. But I wrote a letter on behalf of the board, and I'd like to read it to you and then seek your approval to share this with him and possibly other members of the Senate. But it's addressed to Senator Cook, and it could be to others as well. This letter is being written on behalf of the Beaufort County Board of Education. It addresses the impact of the class size reduction requirements that we are facing as we plan for the 2017-18 school year. Analysis of the new class size limits will require our county to hire 27 new teachers in K-3 classrooms. This creates a concern about the cost of these hires, which could exceed $1,350,000. However, just as significant are concerns about finding space for those teachers. As you know, many of our elementary schools have little, if any, room to add space, not to mention the additional cost of construction/setup and furnishings for these newly created classrooms. Because additional funding is not being provided for these positions, we may be forced to make significant cuts to other programs or classrooms to fund these new positions, as we may see much larger class sizes in grades 4 through 12 to meet the requirements. For years, local school districts have had flexibility with class size in grades K through 3, and that has enabled us to maximize state funding to help keep class sizes under 21 students in these classrooms and fully fund fine arts positions to serve these students. We are aware that House Bill 13 would help lower the required number of teachers, and we graciously seek your support of House Bill 13 or any other measure that will provide relief requiring fewer teachers to be hired. We appreciate your time and assistance in this critical matter. We'd like to direct that to Senator Cook, just so he's aware of the updated numbers, and that we really need the support on the Senate side of House Bill 13 if we could get that, or another measure that does the same task. So I'd just like to ask your approval. I don't want to send anything referencing our board without you being aware of it and having approved it.
So moved, Mr. Chair. Second.
Okay, got a motion and a second. Anybody want to add a line or take a line out? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed to sending this letter? Okay. Thank you much. Field trips, Don, I think there's
We
only
have
one.
one listed. And that's computer slot.
Looks,
It's in Envirothon, I think.
Yeah, it is in
Envirothon team.
Burlington, yep.
It's field trip 10261, South Side, April 28th, 29th. It's an overnight trip, Envirothon to Burlington, something that we do each year. It's a state-level competition. They have the appropriate number of chaperones and be using a minivan, seeking your approval.
looks fine to me.
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, have a motion and a second. Anybody got a question? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay. Let's take a moment and go to closed session.
I move that we go into closed session pursuant to General Statute 143-318.11A1 to prevent disclosure of confidential personnel files under General Statute 115C-321.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to go to closed session. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're in closed session. Okay, we're back in open session, and the first order of business is to approve the personnel agenda that was just reviewed.
I'll make a motion that we pass the.
I second it.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second, and I think we've had plenty of discussion, but I'll give you a chance. Any question? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed to that? Okay, calendar updates.
We will be closed next week. School won't be open on the 17th through the 21st for spring break. But we do have our next board, we have a board meeting on the 24th, which is a budget meeting, and then we have our regular monthly meeting on the 25th, so we'll be Monday, Tuesday, that week. And then the joint meeting with the commissioners for us to present our budget request is May the 3rd at 12, and we scheduled 12 to 2 that day. And we may not go that long, but that is a little bit later, give us some time that last week in April to get all our loose ends tied up.
That's a Wednesday noon meeting, right?
Right, that's right.
Okay. Okay. Board member updates. Anyone have anything they'd like to say? If not, superintendent updates. Anything
Couple
you'd like
things,
to-
yeah. We wrapped up advanced ed a couple weeks ago. I know the public has heard us talking about that. We're glad to have that behind us, and we thank all those within the school district and in the community who came out and served on a group or a focus group or completed a survey or whatever. We're very grateful. Spring break, as I mentioned, will be observed next week in our school system, the 17th through the 21st. And then I had the opportunity on Saturday to go to P.S. Jones to watch the Cyber Kids robotic competition. It was called Robo Beaufort 2017. And we had winners that included S.W. Snowden, John Small, and the overall winners were Bath Elementary. And what I'd like to have them do is set up the robotics table here at our next meeting for public recognition, and it takes 2.5 minutes for them to showcase what they did with the robot and the points that were earned. Incredible work done by our students, and it will continue to be an activity that they're involved in that'll get more and more complicated as they get older, but they're learning coding skills, they're learning engineering, they're learning a lot of the STEM-related work that I think we'd all be excited about, but it was a great time. There were several schools that didn't receive a trophy, but they all did a great job in being a part of that. They were all winners, certainly, with no doubt.
Okay. And I would like to say, just real quick, congratulations to Sean White,
Yes.
athletic, oh, you going to mention that?
No, I'm glad you did.
Athletic director at Southside High School, who was just named Athletic Director of the Year, Region 1. And
he's-
I'm sorry?
He'll be attending the meeting later.
And I was going to say, we will probably need to invite him over.
He already has.
We have
He has been invited?
Later, yes,
Well,
sir.
that sounds great. But in the meantime, congratulations on a job well done. The job takes a lot of time. It does. And he does a great job. Anything else anyone need to say? If not,
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're out of here.
Come on,